Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the full 40. It has been a solid 2 months since we last spoke to you all, since our voices tickled your airwaves. Trevor, Chris, how we doing?
It's been a restful break. I'm ready to reminisce and get angry again.
It's like the Michael Scott meme, but in reverse. Ain't no doubt about it. I'm ready to get pissed off again.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. Actually, I was pretty excited. The Baker interview that was our last podcast. I thought that went pretty well. And so it's crazy to say that was almost 2 months ago.
Almost 2 months ago, yeah.
So
what happened?
And a lot has taken place since then. And so there's a lot to cover.
A lot to cover. So for anyone joining today, we're going to be just doing a little bit of a wrap up of what the hell's been going on the last 2 months. A lot of coming, a lot of
What the hell just happened?
I think Willie's having a stroke.
A lot of people join.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke. A lot of people. There's a lot of people joining the program. A lot of people leaving the program. And then to wrap up, we're gonna do the 40s. If I can get through this, I'm stone sober, but this is what. Oh gosh. So I guess we can just start with just the team and the state of the team right now. So after the VCU game, we had a little bit of time, and then we didn't really hear much of anything. And then the news started to filter in. Rapid fire, TJ Bamba transferring, Justin Moore graduating, Brendan Hausen transferring, Mark Armstrong, future NBA player, Mike Collum. And then who else am I forgetting? Tyler Burton, Hakeem Hart.
Trey Patterson left.
Trey
Hakeem
Patterson.
graduated. Tyler Burton is off to Wall Street.
I don't know who the fuck plays for our team anymore.
Well, I can give my
Max Shulga.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, had him, lost him. Been there, done that. No, returning players that saw minutes last year: Longino, Dixon, which is the big news.
Yep.
Njoku. Is that it?
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
And then we have 3 freshmen coming in.
You had Jordan Dumont,
Jordan Dumont is
get ready to speak redshirt, buddy.
Have a moment of silence for Jordan Dumont, who is continuing Tim Delaney's legacy of double hip surgeries in the offseason.
Can't say that bodes well for the future.
Yeah. And then we got a couple of transfer. We grabbed some guards from the Big Five. We had the VCU kid and lost the VCU kid.
Did we ever have him? Isn't that the way it works?
They say if you love somebody, let them go, and if they don't come back, they were never yours in the first place. So
that was deep.
That's from a movie or a TV show or so. That's my head is riddled with random sitcom quotes. The interesting thing about that is I remember leading up to it, there was UConn was saying that it was impossible to land this kid. We got him. And then we lost him. So I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to go there. I'm over it.
There's been a bunch of rumors. Who knows what the truth is?
Which we probably could have done some work in trying to substantiate any of them, but I don't care. So I just won't speak to it.
If he had done a practice with us, maybe I'd care.
Yeah.
But
that was the thing too. I remember seeing a tweet from, I think it was Goodman, saying how something similar happened with some mid-majors where they had signed all these guys, and now that the draft was sort of closing on and people were realizing they weren't going to get drafted, coming back to school and things like that, and the schools that had missed out on some of their top targets were swooping in at the 11th hour and throwing more money at these guys that were signed to mid-majors and lesser programs. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, well, that won't be a Villanova issue. And then it was absolutely a Villanova issue, it seemed, with losing what's his face to, I guess, well, we never had him, so we didn't lose him, I guess. But anyway. Freshman, ready to learn Villanova basketball.
We've also had a fair amount of non in the program news because the Knicks made a big run. So that was obviously a big storyline that has taken place over the last couple months.
I think not officially not a Philly school, according to everybody in Philadelphia, which is fair because we're not, but they made it clear.
Yeah. Can we I want this to be like a meme or a GIF. I want to be like, let me tell you something about that. We don't care.
Yeah. That's the main
Stephen
point.
A. Smith.
Yeah. The main point. I don't care about that discourse. I went to game like 3 or 4, and I was sitting there with Knicks fans to my left and Sixers fans to my right, and I was just cheering for offense, and they were all very confused. So in case you thought I was spineless, you were right. So
that was a hard series for me. You know, I'm cheering. I'm like watching the Knicks, and I'm like, oh, Jalen, Dante, oh hell yeah, and then I'm like, fuck the Sixers. No, I want the Sixers. This is what I'm supposed to want the Sixers to win. So it was a tough series. But yeah, I mean, I think our biggest news, just from a basketball standpoint, well, for the men's team, and then there's the women's side as well. But from the men's side, it's Eric Dixon coming back, which is huge for the morale of the program, for the talent level of the program. We are still 3 scholarships. I think it's 2 scholarships left, maybe 3. We still have a team to field. Is essentially where we're at. It's June 3rd.
Yeah. We're rumored to be involved with Wooga Poplar, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the potentially last piece of the puzzle.
I still think we need one other thing too.
But
that's
like,
my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna have a team, but hold on, because we ran into this issue a little bit last year. Obviously, some of the injuries kind of took away some of that. But we had a situation last year where we had we brought in a bunch of veterans, which we did, which we've kind of gone that similar route this year. Perkins the exception. But you get into a situation where, okay, well, I'm going to have that. I have Longino, Dixon. Like Dixon is going to get 25 minutes at the 4 and 5-10 minutes at the 5. I don't know. He's going to play 30. He's going to play 30 to 35 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Longino, if he stays healthy, which is the big if, but like if he stays healthy, is going to command 20 to 30 minutes a game in that range, right? You would think, right? You didn't bring in Brickus and Bokye. I don't even know if I'm saying his name correctly, but like you didn't bring in those guys to not play. Like each of those guys is going to play 20 to 30 minutes a game. So like all of a sudden the minute allocations start going down. Like obviously you need some depth. Like Perkins could provide that level of depth. Like Perkins should be like a 15, 20 plus minute game, and he's a sophomore. So that gives us some time to work with. But you start doing the math on that on playing time. You got the freshmen to work through. You already have a red shirt because of the double hip surgery for Dumont. You start moving the pieces of the puzzle around, and it's like, okay, well, after Poplar, if we can land him, and he's on a visit to Oregon or is about to be, or is just getting back, I forget exactly the timeline of things, but like
it's got to deal with DJ Bamba.
Yeah. How much more time do we want to bring in? Because like I get the talent aspect, but like you also have a lot of minutes to go around on a very veteran laden team. Like, would it be better to have an 8-9 man roster?
We're gonna right now, sure, but come December when that 8-9 goes down to 6, we're realizing there's a lack of talent. That's where I'm like, I still feel like there's one more because there's between let's go the known quantities that we have of Eric, Jordan. Let's say Nana is good backup. I'm going to assume Ernest uses the Ghanaian pronunciation of his last name, and it's Boache. He might say something different, but that's 4. And then let's just say we get Wooga popular. So that's Wooga, Brickus, Perkins. That puts us at 7, I think, if I'm doing my math right. And then That's 7 players who have played college basketball before, if I'm not missing anybody.
Okay, and that's not crazy.
It's not crazy, but I just think when I look at the roster makeup, I think we need another wing because all of our wings are freshmen. Like Wooga's a guard. We're going to be undersized, I think, which we always are. But like we typically haven't been undersized at the like wing position. It's been at the big, and I think we're going to be undersized at the wing position. Like Jordan can play the wing, but is smaller than. I'm not smaller, but I don't know. I feel like we're going to be undersized. I'd like to see one other thing there, but I do understand that gets us to 10 roster spots with the 3 freshmen. Dumont's not going to play. Maybe Malcolm Thomas might not even play. I don't know. I just feel like I'd feel better with 8, but then we do. Now that I say 8, and I do the math to 11. I don't know.
Right, like that's the thing. It's like you brought in the freshman, right? Like Hodge is not a red shirt, right?
Yeah.
Thomas maybe, but like you might need to strip that. Because you need you're going to need depth at the 5 because Njoku's injury prone.
Yeah.
Right. And like there's no world in which we're playing Eric any more than like a small ball 5.
Yeah.
Right. Like you didn't bring in the guy but how did you say it?
Watch it. I'm assuming he uses the Ghanaian pronunciation. Sometimes people,
If you don't bring him in to not start, right? Like he clearly was getting the starting role, by the way, like 7-7 in a Mountain West. The Mountain West last year put 6 teams in the tournament, which I mean we could debate that, but 7-7 for that level of play, it's not bad. It's not like out of all the transfers, like I think people this and the other thing. This is a better transfer on paper than Ware was, right? Like Ware was doing 2-2 in Kentucky, right? Like I get it's Kentucky, but all right, well at least he's got a little bit more stats and he's got a lot of playing time behind him, etc. So then you got Njoku is the depth at the center position. He did show some level of positivity. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that I'm like fucking ecstatic about this year's roster, but I actually don't think it's poorly constructed. So I'm like, all right, so you get if you can get Papua, I think it's a less talented on paper but better constructed roster than last year was. Because last year we just didn't address the guard situation. At least now I have a guard. Like we have guards. So I think it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be defensively down because we're not as big and as long as we were last year. And I have concerns on Eric's lateral quickness to play the 4 from a defensive standpoint. But I think it is a better constructed team to score. So, which was clearly a problem last year.
I think where I'm at is we are putting, and maybe rightfully, like I think they're going to be good. We're putting a lot on our freshmen. Not like I just think if we're going to be a good team, they are going to have to be able to be 10 to 15 minute players.
Right.
And that's meaning Mosley and Hodge. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Is there correct me if you pay attention to it more than I do. Is there a reason that I don't want to say down, but like is there a reason that you're not thinking we're going to get much from Thomas?
When he first was getting signed, there was talk about like he might not be ready, he might be a redshirt. That's the only reason. Like, and also like bigs typically take longer to develop. Yeah. In the situation, let's say Nana doesn't get hurt, you have Wache and Nana,
2 guys in front of him. Yeah,
and then you have Eric. So like that's the assumption. If he has to play, it's either he's flat out earned it, which means he's really good, or we have found ourselves in some trouble.
Ooh,
we have some special guests in here. I don't know.
Hello.
Like that. We got Chris Notaro and Tommy. How are we doing, babies?
Hello. Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, doing really good. How we feeling, fellas?
We got the whole Nova Insider Network going on here.
We sure do. I just fired off a promo tweet. Got to get one of those out there.
There you go. Yeah, we're just talking about where we stand roster wise right now and how little and to Baker's credit, that's what he said when he was on the pod. He said he's trying to go more towards fit than I forget his exact words, but basically, Chris, you were saying on paper it fits together a little bit more than we think it did last year, which was kind of the goal, I think, going into this portal season.
Here's my thing. The coaches voted Villanova 4th before last year, right? And they in the Big East.
Yeah.
And Villanova was ranked to start the year, which is like hilarious fucking thing about in retrospect. But like that's where we were, right? So my point, Tommy and Chris, is that if we could get Poplar, which I think is a big if, but like let's just say that happens, or some type of another equivalent guard. Right, because Willie started the conversation by saying, "How many more pieces do we need?" And I said, "One of any value, one of value," and then I wouldn't go further than that. That was kind of my hypothesis on this, because there's only so much playing time to go around, veteran people, whatever. That's the genesis of the conversation. But then my question was, okay, I feel like this might be a less talented roster on paper, but it fits together better. So my thought is, when saying that, is that last year's team was a talented roster that got the votes that it got in the preseason for the Big East coaches and got ranked, etc., and underperformed. And like you could point to a billion reasons for the underperformance. Obviously, coaching is the number one thing that people talk about. Point guard play was a huge component of that, right? I think offense in general was like a big driving factor. Certainly not the defense, right? It was not the driving factor behind why we didn't achieve. So so we were ranked 4th to start the year and wound up at 6. I'm not suggesting that there's going to be some material improvement from last year by what I'm saying. I just think maybe perhaps this year we might be voted towards the bottom end of the conference and actually overperform, which is maybe the 6th again, the 6th, 7th type performance again, which who knows how that'll shake out in terms of does that put us on the bubble? Does it not? Whatever. Probably just another fucking 500 team. But point being is that I do think it's a situation where we could, at the end of this, say, we actually performed better than we thought we might on paper. That was my only point.
Yeah, no, I'm in I completely agree with everything you're saying about the fit being better this year than the transfers we brought in last year. Obviously, the talent level isn't there, but I've talked to Willie a lot about Wooga Poplar, and we're both very high on him. I think he would fit this team very well with the pieces that we have. Brickus is an outstanding facilitator at the point guard role, and having him play off of Brickus would be outstanding. And I can't catch that pronunciation on so I'm going to go Bokeh, but I like Bokeh with Nana. I know the program's pretty high on Nana this year too. Steady improvement. I believe it when I see it, but definitely like the fits a lot more this year.
Yeah, I think, Chris, you kind of alluded to this already. I think it's you have to separate narratives from reality. So last year, the narrative going into the season was probably over credited, highly touted transfer class and a bunch of other variables. And reality was sort of more in that really just trying to grind out avoiding the Wednesday at Madison Square Garden. Whereas this year, narrative is probably a little bit too pessimistic, I would say. I saw there was a Big East power rankings I saw today. I think it was from CBS Sports that had us 10th, only behind DePaul. And it was oh man, buckle up for a pretty unkind preseason ranking season, I think, for Villanova. But I think that's okay, because I totally agree that the way this roster is coming together on paper, maybe a less talented overall roster, but you've got pieces that fit together more in the X's and O's of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basketball, probably better than any of Neptune's teams so far. So I think at the end of the day, we're probably going to be right back in that same place of trying to grind out, not having to play on Wednesday in the Big East tournament, and probably having slightly overperformed the 8, 9, 10 preseason rankings. But I'll say there's there's a huge element of that's wishful thinking at this point.
Totally, 100%.
This roster
You
is,
mean in June it's wishful thinking?
but this roster is incomplete. So the roster is incomplete, and it doesn't necessarily feel great for wishful thinking to be, the 7 seed, right?
No.
So there's a lot more. I think I'm trying to reserve judgment until we get a little bit further through the summer, but it's obviously getting tough because the roster's incomplete. I don't know what else there's to say.
Yeah, I look, and before any listeners are like, "Oh my God, these guys are getting excited." No, I'm not particularly.
Let the record show. I don't agree with you guys.
I'm not particularly satisfied. The one I'm really upset about is that we didn't get Andrew Carr. That to me was a total fucking whiff. I don't know what the hell. Like, clearly some stuff happened there. Maybe late NIL. I don't know what happened, but like clearly that pissed me off. There was another what other? There was one other one that bothered. Well, Bamba bothered me.
Yeah,
because I thought Bamba fit the program actually quite well. So that was pretty. I don't think that still to this day doesn't sit with me all that well. I don't know. There was maybe one other player who I'm thinking about who left that was like, or we didn't get, who I thought we might get, that like didn't materialize at the 11th hour, but like maybe I'm thinking of Shulga, but to me, there's been a lot to be disappointed about in the offseason. So I'm not sitting here trying to be like excited, but I do think it fits together better. So go ahead, Willie. Disagree with us.
My disagreement is, and it's like, I don't even know what spot on the roster. I guess you have to trust the freshmen. We talked about adding more point guards. Did we? Is Perkins really a point guard? That's what we have to figure out. That's just like, I think he's a good combo guard. I don't know if he's a true point guard. Brickus is a true point guard. That's like, sure, you have one. Mark was a true point guard. If Perkins is more Justin or Bamba, that he is more of like, even just like Mark in terms of like being like a natural point guard or a natural one. Like, and I'm like looking at Perkins' numbers because I was like, am I tripping here? He was more effective, but he basically handled the ball as much as Bamba did. He was more effective, so that's a good thing. But I don't know. I just look at that and I'm like, I think that is a question. Shulga, who was supposed to be on this team, and we were still going after Poplar, is more of a point guard. So I look at that and I'm like, I think we're missing something here. That's just where I stand, and I'm still, yeah.
I'm trying to give the folks down on 9th Avenue a little more time to add.
Oh, completely,
because it's so incomplete that like if this is the roster that rides into battle, I think that we're gonna it's gonna be a long season for Villanova.
I did couch everything in saying that if we get Poplar, so like,
but Poplar's not a point guard either.
No, I get that too.
Yeah.
So,
and we were still targeting Poplar when we had Shulga. So I'm like, that's where I'm like, something's missing here. Then.
Yeah, I mean, they have to find a way to get more.
Yeah, and so Chris is to Natara's point, like it's still early. Like, I mean, no, it's not early. But
it's not early. That's the problem.
It's not early, but I guess they still have time. So, and I think this is just like part of the new reality of like even outside of Villanova, just college basketball, where like it's going to be June, and for certain teams, your roster is not set, and that's weird because they go into summer workouts like in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like it's like usually right after they get out of high school, like they're starting to work out. It might even like be starting in like 3 or 4 weeks. So I don't know. That's just where I'm at on the roster and the feel of the team.
Tommy, I have a question for you.
What's up?
Because Eric played at Portsmouth,
mm-hmm.
he has to miss 3 games, right, to start
Correct.
the year?
Which is stupid.
Do we get to choose the 3 games he misses, or is it just the first 3?
As far as I know, my understanding is it's the first 3 games of the year.
Okay. All right.
That's a made-up rule.
All rules are made up.
Why? That's fair too, but I hadn't even heard of that. You said something in the group chat about it the other day, Chris, and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, and I'm not gonna even acknowledge it. And now I know what you meant.
I'm just excited because I won't have to be receiving the tweets from the fucking fans being like, where the fuck
You're
is
going to be
Dixon?
logged in.
Where the fuck is Eric?
They know your personal account.
Yeah, Chris,
This
you
isn't-
say this as if you're like leaving the internet.
I am. I'm going away. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think this is probably as good a segue as anything to talk about Chris leaving the internet. I mean, I'll let Chris kind of talk about his feelings probably like right after before this, but for anyone who's unaware, this probably isn't his last podcast, but it's his last like full-time podcast appearance. Maybe we'll get him on a couple times during the season, maybe in the summer if some stuff that we're working on comes through.
We're gonna let the lawyers figure it out.
Yeah, we'll let our people at PwC handle that. But if so I just wanted to kind of give open the floor to anybody who wants to say anything because I have a lot I want to say. But Chris will be leaving the podcast, and obviously Chris and Rob have created this and created such a great space, not just for Villanova basketball, but for Big East basketball and for college basketball and for people to feel community, which has been absolutely huge. That's not why they started it. They just wanted to talk some shit about basketball and how it's grown over the years alongside the program growing, and has been such a cool thing to see and a cool thing to then become a part of as it's grown. So, Chris, I'll let you take the floor about what you want to say just to start. Actually, no, I want you to go last. That probably makes the most sense. Trevor, I'll pass it along to you, and then
Yeah, I mean, Tommy and Chris Nataro jumped in, but as we started this, I was kind of looking around. I was like, yeah, this is Chris's baby. His not the one that's arriving that's making him leave the pod, but the one that he and Rob had a vision, or maybe they didn't, I don't know, back in the day. And we were all kind of fortunate enough to either stumble into it or find it by overwhelming social media popularity. And it was just always something that I enjoyed listening to. I would look forward to it as I think they started my junior year. So it was something that I look forward to listening to, walking to class, driving somewhere. And the reason that I think it really took off was the discourse that you guys had off air. Just the community that you kind of built on Twitter and the people that we regularly interact with, have kind of made it special. And to be able to be, kind of tapped on the shoulder a little bit to help try to continue that and be a part of it is something that I will take lightly just because I'm a funny guy. I'm going to say I take it lightly, but I take it seriously. I really appreciate the opportunity that you and Rob and Brian and Willie had given me and helped me along this year and just enjoyed the conversations. And I know this isn't the end of those conversations, but it's been an absolute pleasure. And I know we're going to fight in the group chat later, but this is it's been a fun time. So
I'm laughing at this comment.
I'm not even looking at it.
I'm laughing at the comment.
Thought I left you speechless. Yeah, no, that's a good one, Joe Ross.
I'll go next. First, I have to say I'm not altogether convinced that this isn't a Jay Leno situation. So I think we'll be seeing plenty from Chris on the
like too much of them.
Yeah.
Like he'll start a podcast that starts at 8:26.
I'm waiting until like the Friday or Saturday night at like 2:30 a.m. Eastern time when Chris is like, screw it, I'm taking back over Full 40 Twitter, like permanently, not just for the night. Yes. So I think the jury's still out on the Jay Leno situation. Number two, I think we all have to appreciate that whatever Chris and Rob created with the Full 40 here has turned into probably the most active group text chain I have in my phone on a day-to-day basis. That's
a lot because of Brian, though.
That's a lot of Trevor and Brian just going back and forth. It could be on the side.
I'll stop talking.
you'll be in like a meeting or two in your day job. You'll come out of like 60 minutes away from your phone, and you'll have like 90 messages, and it's Brian jumping around between Transformers and basketball, and so all good stuff there. But I think lastly, in a more heartfelt way, I remember running into Chris and Rob at the 2018 Final Four in San Antonio, like the Villanova big party, and they had been at it for maybe a year at that point. I forget, what year did you start, Chris? Did you start?
No, we started at that year.
So what? Shout out on that timing, by the way. But I remember just sort of running into them. I hadn't seen either of these guys in a long time, and it was just like I was such a fan of what they were doing. Fast forward to the pandemic, when I started I'm the only idiot in the world that was thinking I would do a pregame show because I had to sign up to be there 15 minutes live before every game. Chris and Rob were super supportive from day one, and kind of brought me into the fold here, and really happy that we've had the chance to kind of reconnect and do this, and a good reason to kind of stay in touch. As I know, we tell people we were roommates when we lived in London. That was 16 or 17 years ago. 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Tommy wasn't even
our
born
junior year at Nova, and now fast forward, married, kids, and got this little side hobby going on the side. It's good reason to stay in touch. So I really appreciate it, and just happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'll clear the floor for Willie and Brian before you go, Chris. But I've been a fan, as you know, of the Full 40 long before I was lucky enough to be able to be a part of this insider network here with you guys. And there's a lot of thank yous that I want to give you for being a mentor, being a friend along the way. And I haven't known you as long as some of the other guys, and I just appreciate everything you've done for the culture on Villanova Twitter and the space that you've built, and putting up with me in the group chat with my Sixers bit. I think this would be a good time to break it. You're actually the last person to know, Chris. That was all a bit. The rabid Sixers fan, everybody in here knows except for you. And there were times
he cared very little about it.
And he had to remind me like a half a dozen times when I got riled up about something he said as like a Knicks fan. He'd be like, "Dude, remember, it's a bit."
And to text him outside the group chat. But yeah, we wanted to see how riled up we could get you, and I think it worked. I think it was a good bit. But yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Just thank you for everything you've done. This has been a great ride, and I know you won't go too far. I hope to still see many pictures of food you send in the group chat and on your personal Twitter and things along those lines. So for me and for a bunch of people who haven't got to know you personally, thank you for everything you've done.
Brian, you want to go or me?
You go.
Okay. Yeah, Chris, this is I'm pretty bummed that you're going to be out. This has been a lot of fun for me just joining the podcast 2 years ago. Anyone who's ever seen my Twitter, I just tweet my thoughts. And if I'm thinking about Villanova basketball, I'm tweeting about Villanova basketball. If I'm thinking about being sad, I'm tweeting about being sad. If I'm thinking about anything, it's just Twitter is where I go to put my thoughts out. And having the Full 40 reach out and be like, "Hey, we love your thoughts. We want you to be on this podcast." I was like, "Oh, that'll be fun." And it has been. It's been such a ride despite the status of the team. Do I feel partially responsible for the status of the team? Yeah. We were at a Final Four, and then I hopped on the podcast, and it's been 2 average years since then. That's kind of a bummer. But in all honesty, like that opportunity has been a lot of fun for me. And then pretty early on in that process, you kind of like let me know that you were thinking about leaving. Rob is the same thing about leaving and just kind of like thinking about that. So I've had about 2 years to get ready for it, and I'm still not really fully ready. But this is just something that like I hold so near and dear to my heart. One, the podcast, but 2, just Villanova. I think I went on that rant like 5 months ago. Villanova's been one of the biggest things in my life. A lot of the good of my life comes from Villanova, and this podcast is part of the good of my life. And I owe that to Chris for taking that opportunity to give me the chance to be a part of that. And not just about the podcast, but like we keep talking about this group chat. Like this is my most active group chat as well. Like, I talk to you all more, like a lot of even if it's not about serious stuff, it is about nonsense. We're mispronouncing names on purpose, which is Brian Special. Or Mr. That group chat's there, and like Chris has become not just like a podcast host, but a true friend and someone that I actually trust. Unlike Trevor, who I do not trust. So that's a whole thing we have to figure out.
I've given you no reason to trust him.
But I'm genuinely honored to take this and take care of Chris's baby. And it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different, but it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It doesn't mean it's going to be like weird. It's just Trevor and I are going to be different than Chris. I'm not going to try and be Chris. That's just not who I am. But Chris's ability to create this community on like online and connect with not just Villanova people, but like Big East people is genuinely a special thing. Like, I think everyone who's listening to this like needs to take a step back and recognize like this is a person who's doing something genuinely special in the media world and just like the public relations, whatever you want to call it. He's doing something genuinely special there. This isn't just a bit on Twitter. This is someone who has a skill that is really, really good at this skill. And we've joked about it, but I'm like, if he wanted to go after something bigger, he could do that and he would crush it. So I'm really excited for you, obviously, from a personal standpoint with the whole family and everything that's going on in your life. I would be more sad if I thought I would never hear from you again, but I know you're just going to be in the group chat. That you're not leaving the group chat. We're not kicking you out unless you decide to leave yourself. So, I mean, I'm just thankful for the opportunity. Thankful that we get to continue to talk about Villanova basketball. I mean, this is a basketball game of a school that we either went to or love. And I'm honored to be in a position to like carry that mantle, but that mantle was created because of the work that you and Rob had done. And it's just an honor to be a part of it. So thanks, Chris.
I should have gone before Willie. Mine's not going to be that good. No, so I started as a listener, just like everybody. I was sitting on a train and I was like, I wonder if there's any podcasts about Villanova. And there was 3. And to be honest, 2 of them sucked. And I thought Chris and Rob were good. And I remember being like, oh, this one. And like within a couple minutes, like, this one's cool. Like, this is kind of what I want. I want it to be more laid back. And it was something I seeked out in a moment. Listened, whatever. Joined a couple years ago. We've talked about that. But more to echo Willie's point, Chris has probably been my favorite adult friend I've met over the last 7 or 8 years, maybe longer. But if you saw us in our group chat, we argue more than him and I specifically argue on almost everything. But if you know us, we basically agree on most things basketball, politics, things like that. Like, we agree on a lot of things. I just like arguing with people, and Chris has kind of seen that, and I have a really good time talking to him. And I think if you didn't know us, you would think we either didn't get along or didn't agree with each other. But I like fighting with someone I agree with because it sharpens my skills. So I am sincerely going to miss Chris. But the reason I think I'm not being as heartfelt as Willie is like I said, yeah. I mean, this isn't my most active group chat. This is like 2 or 3. But that's not going to change. And that's what I like better anyway. Like, I'm going to miss him on the show. I'm going to miss the prep work he does and all the work he does outside of just the podcast. But we're not losing Chris as a friend. We're not losing Chris who we're talking to. Like, that to me is more important anyway. So it's why I'm not as sappy, but I get everybody's point because I'm also going to miss him as well. So obviously thank you to him and Rob, and it was great to join. And yeah.
Stinks for everybody else who doesn't get to text Chris all day like we do. But
I could leak the chat too.
Oh boy. Well, thank you. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was getting the roast of Chris Bellotti here, but yeah, this is it's bittersweet in a lot of ways. I kind of have always had an ability to like kind of put like, okay, dividing lines in my life as to like, okay, high school's over and I'm going to college, and like kind of not leave everything behind, but just like put a stake in the ground and move forward. This is an area where this is something that's been harder to let go than I thought it would. I thought about it a lot last year when Rob was when Rob ultimately decided to leave, and I didn't feel ready at that time. I feel more ready now. but that has a lot to do with just like life and other type of circumstances and the evolution of all that. But the truth of the matter is I mostly feel grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you guys. I really appreciate everything that you said. To know that like, hey, like you're something that you just cared about and decided to invest a shit fucking load of time in, which if there's anything I've done is invest a lot of time, whether it's good or bad, it's been invested. But to know that like, hey, people enjoyed it, people cared about it, whether it's just, even if it's just the 5 of you guys, like that's plenty good for me. But the truth is that like, I'm just super grateful for everybody who's ever said like, yo, full 40 or yo, Chris, like, hey man, let's chat. Like take the time to throw me a DM. Like I enjoy it. I like really gobble that up. I love that. It's fun to just interact with people. I love meeting new people. I love hearing personal stories. I've learned about people like, outside of this group here, just like people who like when I went to the Final Four in 2018, Rob and I saw Chris, gave us kudos as to like doing the thing, right? Like everybody else was just like, Rob and I set up shop in the lobby of the hotel and people came up to us and asked, where's the ticket stand, while we were trying to record a podcast. In 2022, we're at the Final Four. And it was like a little bit more of a full circle moment because people were coming up to us being like, yo, Chris, Rob, full 40, like, love it, like whatever. And it was like, holy crap. Like we actually built something. Rob and I wanted to build something. Like Rob and I are pretty intentional about how we do things. So like we wanted to build something, but the fact that it actually happened, I think kind of caught us by surprise. I think we kind of thought we were some 2-bit podcast the whole time, and we were, but like it was, but we gained a little bit more of a following. What?
Is it NR?
Yeah. And then Willie, I mean, you've been awesome. Willie, you've been like incredible in terms of like coming on, understanding like last year was obviously difficult because it was me and Rob, and it was like Rob and I had that banter that we had been building for several years of like knowing each other for 15 years, etc. And you had to kind of come in the middle of all of that. And I really appreciate that. And Trevor, you came in this year and it was a new vibe as well. Right. And then Brian, you kind of left off the video stream, but like you and Rachel came in a few years back and fit seamlessly with us and totally changed it, took the podcast to new heights. Like the fact that like 3 years ago you came in and we were like recording via Anchor on our phone and like really just like a real choppy edit job, like just like hacking our way through the entire thing. And like you came on and allowed us to like think about things differently, to cover the team a little bit more and stop worrying as much about some of the other components of the podcast, and also bring a different perspective to kind of and viewpoint, which like, as much as you say like, oh, we argue all the time or whatever, but like we didn't, like you bring a perspective that like genuinely I like will take into account and like think about like, okay, like I have to rethink about my gut, like knee-jerk reaction to things differently, because the way you reacted to something makes me think about something differently. So like everyone's bringing something to the table on the podcast that's like, it's like terrific, and I very much appreciate it. And like the friendship to me has always been the most important thing. So like the people who had DM me, like I DMs from like, a bunch of different people, who you are. People who I've met in person several times, you guys know who you are as well. Like when we chat, like that's just been created because of this. Like I really, really genuinely appreciate that. Kind of rambling a little bit, but Tommy, I reached out to you like, hey, I'm going to be down on campus, and you were like, hey, let's do a cheesesteak eating, whatever it was, or whatever it was that we got that time, where it was like I didn't know you. I hadn't met you before, and you were just like, yeah, dude, cool. Like, let's do this. And Chris, like, you reached out to me. I was so receptive because you just reached out to me, like, and I was like, oh my God, like, of course, been a friend with you for like 15 plus years, but more than that, like you immediately like came up to me and just said, hey, how can I do this? And I was like, of course, man. Like I was flattered by the fact that you would even ask. So to me, it's been great. I would be remiss to not say thank you to a lot of the people who have appeared as guests on the podcast over the years. Daryl Reynolds in particular, I have to shout out, like, Daryl picked me and Rob up like, like maybe a year and a half into the thing, And he said, oh, like, whatever. So he immediately gave us notoriety by virtue of being a basketball player's national champion, and wanted to do something in the media space, and picked us up and said, hey, you guys, like, I want to work together with you guys. Like, he was instrumental and helpful, and Daryl's been amazing. Chef has been on the podcast a number of times. Alan Ray has been on the podcast a number of times. Colin, as well, in terms of former players. John Fanta has done just an unbelievable amount of things for this podcast. And that's just a testament to him, because there's probably like 20 podcasts out there in the Big East space who can say the same thing. But just like a huge thank you. John's been on with us once or twice a year, every year. Lucas Harkins, like the list goes on and on of people who have reappeared on the podcast as guests, etc. I'll also just note, Brian kind of talked a little bit of smack, but Pat and Emma over at the State of the Nova Nation podcast, those guys
they weren't out yet. My defense.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Maybe they're predecessors, but those guys were fantastic, and have always been fantastic. And I still text with them all the time. And if I might just say, like, the Attitude guys are a pleasure to interact with on Twitter, and I give them a lot of props too. And then obviously, A-Ray and Mike, I'm drawing blank on this, where those guys do a fantastic job as well. So, like, I over at Rain and 3. So, like, the content that's come out over the last several years, that's been whatever, like, credit to them, because a lot of people care about this program, and a lot of people do a lot of awesome work to do that. So I don't know. I've rambled on for a long time, but, like, to me, the relationships are always the most important thing, and I won't go too far away from any of that. So thank you, everybody, for the time that you've given me, and allowed me to chat with you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. So this wouldn't be the last thing I'll say about this is, Chris, I did do the honor and kind of just got you a golden little podcast mic as a gift, as engraved with your stuff. This has been the Chris Bellotti Memorial Podcast segment. We're going to be transitioning on from that, Chris. I'll make sure that it gets to you.
It's helpful that the mic is at your house, though, I think.
Yeah. So it's for me here. I'm just gonna send it to you later. You'll figure out how to. I'll get your.
He bought it a while ago too. Like, this wasn't.
He bought it after his first episode.
It's been like 2 months. It's been in my apartment for like 2 months.
Yeah, I remember you texting us about it a while ago.
So this will get sent to you just so you have that, and you can always remember your time. Not that you're gonna forget anything. We're going to go to a commercial break, and by that I mean Trevor's going to talk about home field for a bit. Yeah, Trevor, you're doing it. And then while we're all here, well, we're probably all here for Chris, but also it's the 40's, and we're going to get after the 40's, where I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be chaotic as hell. So let's have some fun. Trevor, talk about home field.
Yeah, just to give everybody a couple minutes to recompose themselves before we get into the 40's. Home field apparel, still out there. It's summertime. You know what that means. You need to freshen up your t-shirt, tank top, hat, whatever selection, so you can be looking your best on the boardwalks at the Jersey Shore this summer. There's no better way to approach Brian Martin at the Princeton outside the line than wearing a Home Field Apparel t-shirt, sweatshirt, jacket, hat, what have you. They do have some new stuff coming this fall, I believe, for the Villanova capsule. But until then, you can get your old reliables over at homefieldapparel.com. Still the same promo code Nova Insider for 15% off your first purchase. Get your Villanova gear, your Big East gear, whatever you can find. I'm seeing Pro Sports on here. They have Indianapolis Motor Speedway stuff now for all you race car sickos. Anything your heart could ever want, homefieldapparel.com. Use code Nova Insider for 15% off your first purchase.
That was good, Trevor. That was better than your recorded ones.
That was smooth.
Not gonna lie, it was, and I'm not going back and forth reading the paper. So I'll do better next year.
All right.
I'm sorry. Can I just interrupt? No. I had two things I forgot somehow in that long ramble that I forgot to say.
Now it's bleeding over. People are gonna be so confused.
I know, but I forgot to thank my family. It's just like a huge thing.
Do you think they listen?
And then the other group that I just wanted to thank real quick is, you guys brought it up a number of times, but the other Big East content providers, like those guys have been a family to me, all to themselves, and the other Big East Twitter accounts. Like I made, we joke
all Chris's internet friends.
Yeah, all my internet friends. That's right. But like UConn guys, the Providence guys, like those fan bases have been like awesome. Like everyone says, oh, UConn this or Providence fans this or whatever. I don't know. Those guys have been absolutely fantastic to interact with for me over the years. And then St. John's guys over at Eye of the Storm, like those guys are great. And JP from Seton Hall, and of course John over at the DePod. Those guys he's been awesome. And I'll just shout out Roll Blob for Xavier because I love those guys too. So that's it. I just wanted to make that quick point before I moved on.
No, and that's a great point. Big fan of all of those people. All right, well, we're going to get into the 40s. Obviously, or if you aren't aware about the 40s, this is our award segment where we hand out, in theory, virtual 40s to these people. We're probably not going to hand out any 40s because the 40s kind of dead, right? Like, has anyone had a 40 recently?
No comment.
A lot.
A lot.
I haven't had a 40 maybe since I was like of age.
If you're
I didn't grown up. Like, congrats.
You go to Drinkers Pub in Center City, you might come across one or two in your time there. So that's all I'll say.
All right. Well, we're going to get into it. We have some awards. This first section of awards is mainly what we're calling our main section. This is mainly just for what we see on the court. We're going to talk about the play of the year, the Shaq Fit Man Play of the Year. Taking any and all nominations. I'll start it out with kind of a joke nomination, but like maybe not. The season started with this. It was the moment we all remember. The This is Villanova basketball dive. We had Burton coming across the floor, diving, loose ball. We definitely had a foul.
Slide tackle.
Slide tackle definitely is a foul there. Ended up just kind of, or we made a block at the end of their end, ends up in a Tyler Burton 3. It was probably the best vibes of the season. I'm gonna next to Atlantis. It was probably the best vibes of the season. So that's my nomination for the Shaq Fit Man Play of the Year.
Can I do mine?
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So other nominations include Eric Dixon's eventual game winner against Creighton. Not quite a buzzer beater, but last possession that we would score on and end up winning that game. Nana Njoku had key blocks and I think back-to-back possessions in the UNC game to help clinch that Atlantis title. I don't even remember if that was the championship game or not. Was UNC the championship?
No, Memphis
doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But Nana and Joku had some big blocks down the stretch of that game. Also in the UCLA game, I'm going to bunch all those together. As I've been on record, I'm a huge Nana and Joku stan. So those are my nominations. Anybody else?
I just thought of one. Mark Armstrong half-court shot versus UConn to make us lose by
To
one.
ruin the spread.
And to ruin the spread.
Oh, it was awesome.
Did we mention Justin Moore's 3 versus DePaul to save the
I
embarrassment?
have that in a
I
different
forgot
category.
about that.
I have that in a different category. That's sort of at the end of the I have that in funniest moment of the year category.
Well, didn't
Not
lose.
because it was funny that he made it, but it was funny that we needed it. But yeah, Justin Moore onions, I guess.
I don't have any new ones to nominate, but I think that the one that Willie led off with, like the "This is Villanova basketball" sequence, is like it was the most discussed awesome play of the year because there was such an overreaction to "This is Villanova basketball," myself included, that like the haters it became like haters versus pessimists. It kind of was like a perfect microcosm of the Twitter discourse in the end as well. So I think I think given that it was a high note of a play, I think represent the program well. I think that's the one.
I don't want it to get lost that Sackatology tweets it out about once a week. And
I saw it last week. I was dying when I saw this as the first nomination for the first award.
So
It was the first thing I
be
thought of. And honestly, when we think about this season, we're probably going to think about that play.
Yeah.
Like Dixon's is probably number 2. So like we're kind of doing it in jest, but like I think that might be it. I think
Right.
that might be the play.
And it was like for better or worse. That
Yeah.
was
I don't know.
That is Villanova basketball.
I don't know, man. I'm going to call back out the Justin Moore 3 because I didn't want to live in a world where we lost to DePaul in that game.
Yeah, it would have been tough to end your season against DePaul, I guess. Yeah. I'll give it to Justin.
I blocked that out of my mind.
I don't blame you, but it happened.
Rightly. Look,
I feel like it's so much sadder for that to be the play of the year.
but look what the fuck happened this year. Like it's right. It's truly right and just.
I mean, we can probably like the problem is like obviously the peak of the year was Atlantis. And I don't remember enough from those games other than, you had the big lead against Memphis that we kind of choked back up, and then the UNC game and the overtime and everything. But I can't remember specific plays, obviously, other than my Nana and Joku had like 2 blocks in back-to-back possessions, and Mark hit a pretty big layup down the stretch to kind of seal it. Mark had another really great defensive play, I think, again in that DePaul game to set up the Justin Moore shot. I don't know. I can't really think of offensive plays because we're so defense and rebounding focused this year that all my highlights are defensive highlights. I don't know.
We'll get to that.
Kyle Neptune is 1 game over 500 in his coaching career, and that is caused by Justin Moore hitting that 3 over DePaul. Okay?
I vividly, because it's like a thing that's in the back of my head for every game, how close he is to just being 500 for his career. And I was like, if we lose this game, he's going to go under 500 because I knew we were going to lose like 2 in a row. I don't know. Who do we want to give it to?
It's fine. I keep this putting this out. That has to win an award on some way, shape, or form.
It's going to.
It's going to win funniest moment of the year. The Shaq Pittman play of the year has to be the This Villanova basketball dive because that's going that will be in highlight reels 6 years from now. Like context will be taken out. There will be no context to it, but it will be.
They show recruits on visits.
Exactly.
On a loop.
All right. So the next award, and this is just one of the silly ones that I thought about, but honestly, kind of going to give him a shout out. We don't talk about him enough. This is the Next Man Up Bench Player of the Year award. This is already predetermined. This is Chris Arcidiacono, and this is the Chris Arcidiacono Lifetime Achievement Award. But actually, like, shout out to Chris Arcidiacono for 5-6 years of playing Villanova basketball, doing exactly what's been needed of him, or doing to the best of his abilities, from coming in when Colin got hurt and that Providence game, that was something, and then all that stuff done that season. To I mean, I don't think I've seen anybody in Villanova basketball history go from like playing 35 minutes in a game to like literally playing 2 or nothing, just back and forth throughout the entire year
without an injury.
Without an injury. So I got to give it to Chris Arcidiacono. Just a lifetime achievement award for him.
Yeah, I don't think anything else needs to be said about that.
And for future reference, this will be the Chris Arcidiacono Lifetime Achievement Award that we give to someone. Okay, the next award is the Pockets Ain't Empty Transfer of the Year Award. So this is where we're gonna shout out all of our transfers because their pockets ain't empty at all. They will make sure to get their final Joe's Quick Mart tweet off, no matter what the case is. And obviously we had 4 transfers: Lance Ware, TJ Bamba, Tyler Burton, Hakeem Hart. Any nominations for who should be the transfer of the year?
So what are we? So is this like legitimately the transfer of the year, or is this like the guy who lined his pockets to doing the least? Because that's very clearly 2 different answers.
We'll split it. I will give the real award to the person who actually the transfer of the year will be the real player. The pockets ain't empty. That's going to be the line person. So, but transfer the award, the real award is the person.
To me, it's TJ. And the reason why, as I've said this multiple times on this podcast, he was the only guy of the 4 of them who, in my mind, and maybe this is a little bit unfair to Hakeem Hart, but he's the only guy in my mind who played Villanova basketball like the entire season, maybe on the entire roster, let alone out of the transfers. So other than Dixon, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. We're all. Yeah,
we're laughing at other things.
Yeah, we're all laughing at Sakatology tweets right now. That's just to be clear.
I'm trying not to laugh.
and tweets that.
All right, I'll bite. I'm gonna go look.
Yeah.
I would say Hakeem Hart is my transfer of the year, just because he didn't stab me in the back at the end of it. No, I largely agree with the TJ point, but obviously Hakeem had a little bit more of a limited role than TJ did, but I thought he played it really well. I don't think we win the UCLA game without him specifically, and I was looking for more defensive highlights, I guess, most of the year, and Hakeem was just one of those guys that you could kind of throw on their best other team's best scorer, and he would make life difficult for him. He was garbage man around the hoop, a lot of putback buckets, and I think Brian just saw the tweet.
Yeah, I saw the tweets. They're good.
Yeah,
Tweets.
Hakeem. I give the transfer of the year award to Hakeem, and the pockets ain't empty. That's Lance Ware.
Oh yeah,
That's Lance
for sure.
It might become the Lance Ware Memorial Award.
I think I'm okay with that. The transfer of the year and then Lance Ware one. Yeah, I feel like it's Bamba just for me because like I'm as pissed as I can be at a player. Like I don't actually care about my life has moved on. Go to transfer, do what you got to do. But like I wanted him to be here and he's gone because I liked what he brought to the team. Bamba's mine.
I'm giving one out here. I'm going Brandon Housen because you didn't say transferred in, so he transferred out.
Yeah,
and I've never seen a fan base ride harder for the 7th man and then immediately abandon him the second he leaves your team, as if any part of his game changed. Because I watched everybody call him the best shooter in the nation, and then we left like, well, fuck this kid, he sucked anyway. Like, what's changed? There's been no games.
Uniform changed, man.
It was unfair to him on both ends. I think he was given too much credit, and then he was given too much grief. He's a player that got like 9 minutes a game. Cool. Got it. Not the best anything. It's totally fine. 300 some college basketball teams.
Once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat for him.
Brian, a segment that you should do in the future as I walk off and don't have any say anymore is fan accountability
Yeah,
his span of
that's me.
accountability,
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes with Brian, where he just talks about how every fan and every type of fan, he's equal opportunity between the different types of fans. But like Brian will just call out inconsistencies in fans support for any fan base.
Yeah, that's
but
my hobby.
You should do that on the pod. That'd be good. That'd be a good segment.
This weekend, I was making fun of my friend's boyfriend, and she said, "Do you have to needle everybody?" And I just looked at her, and I was like, "Yeah."
Tommy, your nominee.
I'm actually going to go with Hakeem Hart as well. I liked what he did on the defensive end of the floor, guarding a lot of different positions. He had that like 3-week, maybe to a month, 5-week stretch where he was really solid for us. Offensively, hitting the corner threes, playing really good defense, and that kind of fizzled off towards the end of the year. But he definitely exceeded my expectations. I don't know if I can completely say the same about TJ Bamba. He definitely didn't underperform based on the expectations, but I don't know if he exceeded them to the level that Hakeem Hart did for me. So that's who I'm going to go with based on their relative value at the positions and their roles.
I think if you are calling this the Transfer of the Year award, it has to go to the guy who transferred in, played the most consistent basketball, and transferred out all since the last 40s. So for me, it has to be Bamba.
He's the
No
definition.
one mentioned Burton, did they?
No one mentioned who? Burton. Yeah. I mean, I never really knew what to make of him.
I need
Always
to
wanted him to be
apologize.
better.
I need to apologize to him. I was so high at the beginning of the year, and that was the Tyler Burton that played for Villanova was not the Tyler Burton I watched play at Richmond for like 4 years.
You weren't the only one, though, Willie. I think that was a pretty universal take.
Yeah.
I think that's unfair to think that you said something that's egregious.
It's my fault, Brian.
I mean, I blamed you all season, but
Willie, I still have one person in my DMs who still blames you for the UConn loss at home. Like very sincerely, he DMs me every so often. Like I can't fucking believe that Willie predicted that we would beat UConn and put it out there.
I had to take a stand on something.
And the person who DMs me this 100% knows who they are, and I probably will DM me with a laughter emoji because he's like to this day he'll be like, "I fucking Willie had to send that UConn thing." I'm like, dude, fucking get over it, man. It was 4 months ago.
Chris, are you gonna tell him that it's me?
I can promise you guys this: every year I will make one outlandish prediction, and it will come to bite us in the butt, and I will continue to do that in perpetuity.
But when it hits, you're going to be living.
I was so close to hitting. I was like, "Oh, this game, it's going to hit," and
you would have had some real internet flowers if that had hit for you.
Turns out if you don't score for the first 10 minutes of a game, it's tough to win.
Scare money don't make no money. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm coming out. I'm coming out harder. I'm going to. All right. Moving on to our next award because this is going to Bamba. The Scotty Reynolds Bucket Getter of the Year. So this is the person who just we loved watching playing basketball, was putting the ball in the hoop at a high clip. I'm going to nominate someone that we haven't mentioned yet. This goes to, we could do a whole section on this person, but this goes to Lucy Olsen in my eyes. Lucy, after losing Maddie Siegrist, I thought Lucy was going to be good, but the level to which she played last year was outstanding. That dragging us all the way to the W. It wasn't the NIT, but the Invitational, whatever you want to call it.
WBIT.
WBIT. I kept going to NIT.
The Whibbit.
The
Whibbit.
Just genuinely a great basketball player. It was always such a joy to watch her play basketball. She, between her shiftiness, her confidence, her toughness, her shot, she could get anywhere in the court. I am very excited to watch her play on what will be a larger stage at Iowa. Maybe she's better than Caitlin Clark. I said it. Maybe she's better than Caitlin. Maybe that's my prediction. Lucy will lead Iowa. Caitlin will lead Iowa to a national title. That's my prediction.
Maddie should have won Player of the Year 2 years ago. I said it.
No.
Do you think?
No.
Do you think that if Lucy is like a good follow on to Caitlin Clark, and then she goes on to the WNBA, that she'll get fucking WWE style fucking finishing moves put on her on every other game? Like,
Yeah, welcome to the league.
Yeah, welcome to the league.
welcome.
That's how it's played starting that day that it happened 2 days ago.
Willie's pissed off. We're not turning this into first take. We're not. We're gonna move on.
No, I think he saw what I put in chat.
The I will transform for a moment into my Scotty Reynolds, most like Scotty Reynolds player, and I will say that it must be Eric Dixon, who game reminds me of Scotty Reynolds in how he scores the ball.
Wait, I forgot who said that.
Kyle Neptune.
Kyle did.
I was like, Kyle. I don't know why I thought it was.
I don't know if it was misquoted.
Could have been Dick White.
It was during the Georgetown game at home where like Fanta was on the call, and Fanta was like, yeah, I talked to Kyle Neptune, and this is high praise. Do you know Kyle Neptune likened Eric Dixon's ability to score to Scotty Reynolds? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it was, and like clearly that had to be. I just because I have to give benefit of the doubt. It had to be like a misjudge of how a question was asked versus whatever. But like there was like an all-time moment for me for obviously because I still remember because there was a throwaway comment in a blowout basketball game that this came up, and to this day I'm just like, you said Scotty Reynolds is the name of the awards. It's got to go to Eric Dixon, apparently.
I thought we were going to lose Trevor there for a second.
He still might, just because Chris even did Fanta loved the guy to death when he whenever he's talking about something somebody else said, his voice gets real low, and he reminds you of Scotty Reynolds. Oh my god, I completely forgot that happened. Oh my god!
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was Donnie Marshall who said it. So I was just thinking of another bald black man. I'm gonna be honest, but I thought it was Donnie Marshall, and then I forgot it was Kyle.
Yeah.
Chris makes a riveting argument. My vote was going to be for Lucy Ellison because she's in another stratosphere as compared to the other nominees on the list, but. It might have to go to Eric.
It might have to be Eric because of
simply
that. Yeah.
Just because of the comment that was made.
A lot of people are saying Eric Dixon is Scotty Reynolds.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I will say this. Eric Dixon has a chance to do something that the last person who did it was Scotty, and that's be a 2,000-plus point scorer. Eric Dixon got to play college for 7,000 years, but he might do it.
How far away is he? 6?
He's almost at 15. He's at what?
You got to check VU Mander's tweets. He actually does a really good job of tracking all-time leaderboards and stuff. I have no idea where he gets his stats from, but I think he's 500 away or something like that.
Okay.
From being, I forget, but VU
Manders
Hoops
also has a good one to shout them out. They have a good stats tracker.
Oh boy. All right. So. It sounds like this is between Eric and Lucy, but in the spirit of the name, I'm gonna give this to Scotty, or not to Eric.
Eric, yeah. Same person, same.
Eric
can't tell them apart, honestly. So.
One and the same.
So Kyle Neptune, the two pictures from The Office of Scotty Reynolds and Eric Dixon, they're the same picture.
Same exact picture. All right, we're gonna go on to. Talk a little bit more about the culture, some of the narratives around the podcast. We're going to dive into the narrative of the year. What was just the narrative of the season, how we're going to remember this season. I'm going to start off with what I think is the narrative of the year is, should we only play basketball in Atlantis? Because the team that showed up for those 3 games in Atlantis never showed up again the entire season. And something about, I've never been to the Bahamas, but there must be something in that. That place is like a wedding hall, right? Like when it's not being used for basketball, like
Yes,
weddings
that's
are
right.
held there.
Conference room, ballroom, type of
big
thing,
conference room. Something about that activates the chemtrails in us, and we just are playing.
The attitude within you.
Yeah, the attitude gets unlocked. The performance that we had in Atlanta, so I genuinely leaving that. I mean, we all felt it. Like I was like, oh, this team is actually this good. Like
We didn't all feel it, Willie.
Brian, come on, let's be real.
Who's that one really handsome, smart podcaster that said we were going to win the battle for Atlantis? I can't remember.
I think that was you, Trevor.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh wow, yeah, so handsome, so true. Yeah, I don't know. We just I came out of that thinking like, yeah, this is a better this is a good team. And my whole season was kind of comparing, maybe unfairly, because clearly something's in the air in Bahamas, comparing us to like what we showed there. And every time we didn't show that, I was like, this is why I'm frustrated, because I've seen what we can do, which was take a really good UNC team and beat them pretty like fairly and like in overtime, but like UNC would made it to what, the Elite 8, Sweet 16. They lost to Alabama, so Sweet 16. Yeah, and just like we didn't do it, so fuck that. That's my narrative of the year: is we should only play in Atlantis. We should move Cabrini College to the campus in the Bahamas, and that's where we move to play all our games.
I like that. There's one on this list that sticks out to me much more than the others, because I talk to Kyle Neptune maybe once a week during the season. And I think if I had $1 for every time I've heard this phrase throughout the last year and a half, 2 years that I've been talking with Kyle, I'd be as rich as Chris Bellotti. And that is defense and rebounding.
You can Uber wherever you want, apparently.
Yeah. It's just ingrained in these players. It's got to be written on the walls in the lockers. It's defense and rebounding literally comes up once a session when I talk to these guys. So that's got to be the narrative for me.
I think it's a good one because it's also related to the overall Coach Neptune discourse, the greater Coach Neptune discourse, which is probably in the conversation for this award. So I think defense and rebounding and sort of the offensive woes of some of those stretches in January and February, like I'm gonna back Tommy on that one.
I have one. The kill shot.
I completely forgot about kill shots. That's
the kill shot. They get like the ability for this team to come out of the locker room in a must-win game and fucking suck ass was unbelievable.
When our backs are against the wall, we find a way to make the wall bigger, and we just keep going back.
Yeah, it was mind-boggling. The start of the Creighton game at home was the culmination of it all. I was sitting there, I'm like, how is it 32-8? This team knows they need to win.
We broke the kill shot graph.
Yeah,
They had to keep expanding the axis for us. It became they changed it from the
y-axis
to the v-axis for Villanova.
Evan Mayakawa, I pinged him and I said, "Can you do this?" And he was like, "Yes, actually, you're right. This should be the v-axis," and he changed it. To me, the kill shot was just crazy. We thought UConn, we got 3 kill shots in a game that we lost by 1. We had 3 kill shots put up against us. The amount of times it happened throughout the season was absolutely stunning. And it kind of fits in with the defense and rebounding thing, because it would be like in the middle of that kill shot, we'd call a timeout probably 2 or 3 minutes too late. And then you see the guys in the huddle, I don't care about that end. Defense and rebounding. We'll score. And the fan base is sitting there watching the game, be like, will we though? Because I'm not convinced.
But what's weird is we would then get back into the game. We would then
bring the game on a buzzer beater,
claw back into the game. And it's just why couldn't we just be normal?
Yeah.
Just be normal, guys.
Nope.
My narrative, and I haven't let you guys forget this, is it takes more than a year to learn Villanova basketball. And then for some reason, they're just recruiting guys who are here for a year. Like, it's their own rule, and they're breaking it and being like, we don't get it. But, like, it takes these guys more than a year, so we're going to bring in all these 23-year-olds. They'll figure it out. Like, it's insane that we've done that again, seemingly. So maybe we should, like, do a condensed version, like a abridged teaching. Work on that over the summer.
Spark
I don't know how that
notes.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like you listen to podcasts at 2.5 speed, like do that. Teach them that way.
Really quick defense and really quick rebounding. Yeah. My vote will go to the kill shot, but I just feel like I didn't really have any other place to put this stat that I sort of half tracked throughout the year. And that's that Eric Dixon drew 15 lane violations by my count in my notes app. And I know I didn't update it all the time, but that's remarkable. That's just one season of work for him. So I will be tracking it more officially next year.
That's one of those things. I wish I could know all time who's drawn the most lane violations.
It's Eric Dixon.
Because there's a chance it's Eric Dixon.
No, it is. It is.
Of all time.
Yeah.
All time.
His name is Eric Dixon. He's playing his 6th year of college basketball next year.
I don't think I want to pull my vote off of defense and rebounding, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about program direction regarding the NIL landscape as a narrative of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was as open. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely open on the airwaves, but I think that I found that to be a topic that dominated a lot of private conversations, not just with this group, but like with all, your Villanova friends, in my case, like a lot of my close friends from Chris and my graduating year, and little offshoots. I like that to me was like one of the top discussed things, in addition to just the overall state of the roster and the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. It's something that like it would come up in basically every conversation. Someone would be like, well, what are we doing with NIL? And I would just give a canned response of like, we're paying people. I'll tell you that much. They're getting it. Yeah, no, that's a good one out there. Anything else for narratives from the podcast of the year? All right. I think my official vote goes to kill shot. I completely forgot about that, but like
it broke the graph.
Yeah, it has to go to kill shot.
Yeah. We'll have defense and rebounding for the rest of
the rest of
the
time. For the rest of the time, we'll have defense and rebounding.
The next year?
I didn't say that.
Hey-o.
I know. Maybe. Gotta be prepared.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, gotta be prepared.
Who has playout music? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to give this next one. It's the Villanova social account, specifically for Villanova Twitter. There's a lot of Twitter accounts we can nominate. I just want to talk about two that are on this podcast. Tommy, his account, and the Villanova Tip Time account. Just great social accounts across the board. Tommy coming into the picture with a new podcast, launching that more or less every week throughout the season, and just having like that little digestible content was super great. And then Villanova Tip Time, Chris, you recognizing that like, why the fuck don't we have something like this? And filling that void is just like absolutely great. And I just wanted to give you guys your flowers for just being great social accounts, for being part of the Insider Network and all that stuff. You're not going to win.
I officially need to drop out of this category, though. I'm going to throw all my support behind Tommy G, because there's no way you would ever rank Nova Tip Time Twitter account over Tommy G Twitter account in terms of quality Twitter accounts. So credit to me for being big enough to step away. When we talk about this award, we can say he recused himself. And
you can get the sportsmanship 40.
Threw his weight in support behind Tommy for that one.
Yeah. Tommy, you can't win though, because they're going to call me for nepotism. So you can't win. I'm sorry.
What am I going to do with this 40 under my desk?
Tommy, if you pulled out a gold statue right now, that would be the best.
Tell me it's a Bud Heavy.
No,
we'd have to reopen narrative.
Let's go.
Actually,
It's a Modelo. And it's a 32 ounce because the pizza place across the street from my apartment didn't have any 40 ounces. So
That's
Wow.
but that's the rough amount of minutes that we played this game.
Yeah, 32,
Yeah.
full 32.
What a
Yeah,
heroic
32.
prop. What a heroic prop.
That's terrific. That's fantastic.
All right, Willie, who else you want to nominate here?
I mean,
besides
there's a lot of
the
people-
rightful winner next to me in frame.
Yeah, there's a lot of people we can call out. I'm just gonna shout out this person because he just killed me. Shout out Zakatology.
Zakatology is the best,
Just-
man.
I just killed me.
He's had a
Yeah.
resurgence this year too.
Yeah.
All reliable. Oh,
Yeah.
he never left, Chris. He never
Yeah.
He
left.
never
People were
left.
saying
He
he
never
fell
left.
off.
But he never left. He never left. But this year he might have been at his peak this year. He had what was his magnum opus tweet that he had earlier this year that was just like
I think it was the
absolute.
one about you like 10 minutes ago.
No.
No, he had another one that like went. Yeah, that did.
I called it out, being like, this might be Zakatology's magnum opus. Oh man.
We'll do something. I'm
I'm
digging.
gonna
see if
search
I can find
Opus
it.
on your Twitter, on your tweets,
Yeah,
and I'll let you know what I find. Was it on full 40 or your personal?
It probably was on full 40.
Zakatology, you have my number. Text me it. You know what it is.
Yeah.
I know you're listening.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. He had one this year. Kansas Super Senior Hunter Dickinson has entered the transfer portal, sources tell me. He has
Yes.
already heard from the following destinations: LinkedIn, McDonald's, Indeed, Monster, Amazon Prime Delivery, Wendy's, Walmart, ZipRecruiter, Starbucks, Target, Michigan.
The going back to the well on the who Jalen Brunson is, and every time,
Every single time.
every
Every
single
time.
time, people being like, "Wait, like," every time people taking it seriously killed me.
Oh, it's so
And
good.
every quote tweet reply is the Bitmoji of the what is it, the hog with like its head exploding. Oh man.
That Hunter
Hunter
Dickinson
Dickinson
tweet had
did
12
numbers.
Yeah, it did numbers.
That Hunter Dickinson
1.1
tweet,
million views for Zakatology on the Hunter Dickinson tweet. That's pretty solid work.
12,000 likes. Oh god, it's so good. Oh man. Susan
For the
Falvey,
record,
right?
that's my vote. But yeah, some other honorable mentions in my opinion would include Susan Falvey. Just the most incredible photoshops that you'll ever see. The transfer portal, the game day tweets, the holiday themed game day photoshops,
the UFOs.
the UFO. That's what I meant. The transfer
UFOs.
portal. Yeah,
Fantastic.
the UFOs. Oh my god.
Yeah, I gotta show Susan some love for all the love that she shows us. Chris Notaro, his show and his Twitter are great. Obviously you guys, but that's nepotism. The starting five guys, they show a lot of love on the timeline. So gotta give them their props as well. Cowboy Joseph, or What Is Life Yo, whatever his handle is nowadays.
Yeah.
In terms of bangers on the timeline, he doesn't. They're few and far.
You went triple platinum.
But yeah, when they're good, they're good.
Oh my god. I was tracking like it kind of fell off, and Tommy, you did a better job of it than I did, but I was like writing down most ridiculous tweets that I saw throughout the year, and Joseph had like 4 of them of like the 12 that I wrote down, or that Tommy reminded me of. But just the entire Big East taking off and running with the my parents donate $50,000 every 1842 day.
The follow on tweet to that too, like the no offense, like that whole it's just electric.
There was another one about somebody like mentioned something about like his teeth or something. He's like, I'm not going to apologize for having perfect teeth.
He's like, my dentist says I have a Hollywood smile or something.
You guys are gonna have to remind me of her name. Who was the woman that came up with that LeBron story and recorded it her own report? Because I was so angry that day that happened. And I kept telling her, like, I made this up, and she just did not acknowledge it. she just ran with the Mike Nardi meeting. You know, the one of LeBron didn't drive from Los Angeles with a license plate that said LA Lakers. I said.
Is
like
Tweeter
her.
Johnson a credible nominee for this category?
Tweeter.
Yeah, of course.
I think he has to be.
Leader
Leader
and tweeter.
Johnson was less ridiculous than Leader Johnson. So
Well, what disappointed me is no one bit on me saying Tony Yayo and 50 Cent was going to perform at Hoops Mania like they did in 2007, as if like that would be cool. Like everyone, what the fuck is this? That was the tweet that I wanted people to focus on because I was going to post clips of the performance saying they were practicing.
I want to say, I don't think a lot of people know the scale to which that happened. The whole LeBron like visiting Philadelphia thing, going to the Sixers and Bronny to the Villanova. That's our name. Bronny to Villanova. That was Brian. Brian tweeted it on a slightly more reputable person who did not do their work, amplified it, and then it blew up to the point where like national journalists.
I had somebody text me about it last week.
Yeah, there's no credibility to this, and that
Well,
was just Brian.
I went to bed early that night being like, I'm going to wake up. People are going to laugh at this shit. And then when I saw that, I texted you guys. You guys were like, oh, do you think that's real? I was like, no, I think this woman took what I said. I was like,
no, I told you, I alerted you guys because I got the text in a Villanova Friends group chat. I got a text of that tweet like, whoa, guys, like everybody was like into it like it was real news. And I was like, wait a minute. But I actually didn't really, I just immediately forwarded it on. And then Brian was like, this was me. Like
well, what bothered me was I was like, either I got a secretive meeting correct on the day of with the biggest NBA player in the past 50 years, or what I made up last year, I did again this year, and someone took it. I was like, I don't think I'm that good. So I was like, I did this last year. I also liked when I said LeBron talked to me at the red light. Like he's just rolling his window down, offering shit up.
He said just for this group of people, that was a great Twitter day.
Oh, that was.
No, I said I talked to LeBron at the red light. He said the ball's in Nep's court. Like LeBron was like, hey man, you make the decision here.
Let's get this done.
Yeah. The amount of people who texted me about that, I was like, no, this is literally just
Brian.
I went to dinner.
This is how disinformation spreads on the internet, and it's like proof in the pudding.
I went to dinner with my family, and I was like kind of annoyed. They're like, what's going on? I was like, I made this thing up on Twitter, and now people think it's real. And then my family's like, what's going to happen to you? I was like, well, nothing. Like, I'm not criminal. I was like, I'm just annoyed. Like, I want people to be smarter, and I'm realizing they're not.
One person or a group of people that I do want to give a shout out to for this award too are the people who sit on press row. Colin Beasley, Jeff Nyberg, Aaron Bracey. They all do a great job. This was Colin's last year, but he's done an outstanding job covering Villanova basketball. So just
Colin
wanted to
is
give
Willie's favorite reporter.
Breaks the news.
I have been waiting for this because I knew you guys would do this to me. The context for anyone who doesn't know is so we were supposed to obviously we're supposed to support people within the Nova Insider Network. I wasn't thinking, and this isn't anything against Colin, but I went and retweeted one of Colin's tweets instead of one of Tommy's, and they have not let me live it down. It's been like a month.
Than what?
Yeah, I just
That's
wasn't thinking. And it's just to the point where Tommy was like, am I doing something wrong? And I was like, no, I'm just an idiot.
Bro, today Trevor said to uninvite Tommy and invite Colin to the call. He was like, tell Tommy he didn't answer in time. Which I thought was great. I didn't give it enough credit at the time.
Shout out Colin.
All great accounts.
There's a couple others that I want to shout, and I'm just like drawing a blank on one or two of them. But
I had one that I really liked, but it got deleted. I can't remember what it was called.
Patrick Scanlon would tweet out the bubble guide every week during down the stretch, and I thought that was very helpful.
All that work for nothing.
Chuck Katz too. We got a Chuck Everson.
Yeah.
Long Island guy.
I love Chuck.
That's your hometown boy.
Yeah, it's true. It's a fact.
Nova alerts.
The Long Island Italian guys got to stick together, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Gabagool.
Nova alerts. I just want to give out a shout out. I just appreciate like it's honestly even helpful for me sometimes where I'm just like, what's happened? I appreciate it. There's definitely some stuff that we could talk to you Nova alerts about. Maybe not putting people's business on blast, but I appreciate what you've done.
It's a weird day and age in the $6 Insider Club where you get DMs of people sending other Villanova recruits messages about the incorrect NIL payments that they may or may not have received.
Yeah, just a general reminder to anybody that's listening: please don't DM recruits. It can only backfire.
I actually
literally only backfire.
I think you should just tweet at every recruit and beg them on your hands and knees to come.
Also, only good things can happen from that. Yeah,
that's right.
Like we're gonna obviously we're the examples for sure of Twitter etiquette. But yeah,
I'm gonna continue to make asinine project statements and bet my life on it. So that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just a Twitter account I always appreciate because I think they're funny and they're in the comments right now. The Campus Corner Daily Special, formerly known as the Brendan Hausen Campus Corner Daily Special, and now the Ernest Wojcik Campus Corner Daily Special. Appreciate it. I love what you do. All right. I think that's everyone we need from the social account. There's plenty of other people. Chris, if you think of anybody else, we can keep this because it's going to kind of roll into the next moment. And I'm aware of time, but we're just flapping for people. If you want to, we're just flapping, but there's no time here. The Villanova Twitter moment of the year. Also, social account goes to Sacketology, but call that it is. But the Villanova Twitter moment of the year, there's nominations we can talk about. Like, we can talk about some other stuff that's happened. But, Joseph, come on down. Just come on down. 50. I can't even remember the exact tweet.
Somebody's got to have it, right?
I
don't, but it was, I won't go. I know parts of it where I won't go to another Villanova game as long as Kyle Neptune's a coach. They won't, my parents donate $50,000 every year on 1842 day. I have word for word one of his other ones in the chat, which was going back to his Hollywood white smile.
That one's my favorite one. That's a sleep.
I mean, maybe you make more money, okay? I don't know. But you initially called looks into consideration. I have thick hair, clear blue eyes, and my dentist said my teeth are Hollywood white. You cannot compare to any of that. Stop. I think he was talking to a Xavier bot account when that was going on. But yeah, Joseph obviously wins.
I got the tweet.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's even better than we've said. I am a multi-graduate of Villanova's bachelor's degree and master's degree, not correctly punctuated, by the way. My family has donated $50K plus on each of the last 1842 days for the last 8 years. Again, doesn't really make sense. I will not attend one more Villanova basketball game until Kyle Neptune is gone. This is an abomination. None of the words are capitalized at the beginning of the sentence, which is automatic on most platforms. So I'm confused as to how he did that.
We have another one coming in for the tip line from Sacketology, unrelated, but Joseph tweeted one day, he said if Villanova won the game, he would treat himself by buying a new car. Yes, and then Villanova lost 3 straight.
Oh, would have been a nice treat.
Oh my God.
I searched for 1842 day in Twitter, and the first thing that came up was Brian's spoof rebuttal. So.
Oh my God. Every account had one of every Big East Twitter account just ran wild with that. That was generational stuff.
Yeah.
That's another love me or hate me, but you watched kind of situation.
Absolutely.
It was a horrible look for our fan base. It was the worst. I hate to give that award.
Trust me, there's a more embarrassing one.
Mine was kind of a banger. I have 0 degrees from Villanova, no idea what 1842 day is. Don't know how giving money to any place with an endowment can be considered charitable. I'll be at the game Friday.
I like Brian.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man, there were moments in Villanova Twitter world this year that maybe shouldn't be remembered, but
I don't even want to talk about one of them.
there was a space that took place.
I know. I think I know which one we're talking
Yeah.
about.
I don't even want to talk about that one. Can we talk about the mainline welcome instead?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
No, we can't do it. But it was just a
If you were on that space, you know what we're talking about.
if you're on the space, you know what we're talking about. Old tweets were brought up.
I was just hanging out on that, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
The internet is forever. The internet is forever.
Oh, so Brian, you were there and you said nothing. How does that make you any better?
You're right. I could have spoken up.
And then they came for me.
Yeah.
And there was no one else left.
I didn't have any breath left in me to really stand up and fight that night. I was busy from work and stuff. So.
Wait, Chris, remind me, which one was the mainline welcome?
That was the St. Joe's game.
St. Joe.
It was just like a mainline welcome and like two thumbs down.
Yeah, that was Ryan Hartnett saying
Ryan had a couple of moments this year.
a couple of moments, but yeah, it was let's give St. Joe's a big mainline welcome, and it's just two thumbs down.
I kind of like that.
Kills me. It was great. No, it was
great.
Yeah.
It was kind of like it's kind of like that guy at the Yankee game who just sat there with his thumbs down like a couple of years ago. Oh boy.
Other
The
nominees.
St. Joe's game was embarrassing because not only we get blown out, but students started chanting SAT scores as if any time after high school anybody cares. Like,
That was a fun game for me though. We were sitting next to Jay Wright's family, and my dad kept like looking down and explaining what was happening as if Jay Wright didn't know what was happening.
foul.
Just out of habit, he was like, "Yeah, lane violation." You know, he's used to sitting with my mom, and he's like, "Lane violation." Dad, please stop.
I've been instructed to add from a UConn fan my what the fuck tweet following the Xavier inability to score in the last 18 seconds.
Not score, get a shot off.
That was like recently someone tweeted that again, like maybe like in the last week, and I rewatched it and just got angry. I was like, I don't need to start talking about that.
I don't know. Yeah, you can't see it. It just says what the fuck, what the actual fuck.
Oh man.
That was a Villanova Twitter moment enjoyed by everybody as well.
Yeah, a lot of what we're talking about also fall into like funniest moment of the year. Everybody wins.
I think Perry's JQ tweet has to be up there.
Yeah, that got like a ridiculous amount of interactions. It was just like Javon Quinterly has transferred a bunch, and Villanova has a bunch of transfers, and here's a picture of Javon Quinterly. And he replied.
Perry had some moments. Perry will just all of a sudden come out of nowhere and just be like, capital letters, like, at Mark Armstrong, what the fuck are you doing? just be like, Perry can go to zero from 0 to 100 like in an instant.
Quicker than an Uber.
It's true.
Oh gosh. All right. Any other nominations for a Twitter moment of the year? All right.
I don't think so.
What, Joseph? Congratulations. Drink a 40.
Yeah.
The last one, we talk about the culture of Villanova, but obviously we've had a lot of people leave. Gonna just kind of go through this is for the people who have left Villanova. We love you, Villanova, but damn, the NIL's too good somewhere else. And that goes to everyone who's left Villanova. Just giving shout outs to all those people. My nomination for this is going to be Brendan Hausen. You know, as I've said, and I will continue to say, the best shooter that's ever played basketball. Yeah, just across the board.
I heard he's taught Steph Curry how to shoot.
You're right. You're damn right. Yeah. So it's kind of just a memorial for everyone that's left us. So Brendan Hausen, there's your shout out. Anybody else you guys want to shout out?
The dude who decommitted back to VCU.
Max Shulga. Yeah. That actually might be Max Shulga might actually be the winner for this.
I missed him. I knew a lot about him and I was excited. And Shaka Smart's a good coach, so I get it.
He was pretty comfortable in the fin too.
On a real note, I do want to give a shout out to Trey Patterson. I'm like, actually, I hope he's able to play basketball. Like, I want to see him play. He's been snake bitten, hurt. I would love just a healthy year for him at Rice. Like, actually, like, there's no animosity here, Trey. Like, I hope you like get to play and do well at Rice.
Dude came to school, graduated. He did his initial set time. There's no, I agree.
Have you seen his Crocs ad? Speaking of NIL,
I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a good one.
Trey Patton's Crocs ad?
Trey Pat, yeah. I saw it on TikTok.
Wow.
Other ones to call out. We've talked about Lance and TJ. There was a lot of transfers from the women's team as well, but Lucy and Christina Dulce both left. Christina at Maryland, Lucy at Iowa, which will get a classic Big Ten matchup, and we'll see them play versus each other. But shout out to them on like great opportunities for them both. Like, I love what our women's program is becoming, but like what Iowa's done over the last couple of years, I love what Maryland's just been historically. I think is huge. Anything else from there? There's no winners. This one. Oh yeah, there's no winners here. Max Shulga, I guess, can be the winner here. All right. To wrap up, we're just going to finish up with. I don't even want to talk about the best game. That doesn't the best. There's no.
We already kind of did. It was. We peaked in the Bahamas.
All right, so we'll wrap with. Get close to wrapping. Actually, Chris, I feel like this is for you. Do you want to talk about other Big East teams? Just give a shout out to some other Big East stuff. It's just the Big East narrative of the year. We'll start with that one. And just...
Yeah, I mean, look, Blue Demon Degenerate and Divine Providence was the moment of the year by far from a Big East Twitter standpoint, and maybe from all of college basketball standpoint. And it's crazy because, like, in any other year, the whole dangly sack Tyler Kolek can't read saga would have easily been a top moment, and it was just like shadowed by Divine Providence and what that was. That was like a cult hero moment happening. All in. I've met Blue Demon Degen now twice. He's a good guy. He does not look like he spends all of his waking days on Twitter. But he did an amazing job with that thing. And then how do you look in orange, or how would you look in orange? And like the whole thing that followed that entire saga was absolutely just incredible. So that's one. I'll call out a couple other ones that were good. I called out the Tyler Kolek thing, can't read thing. That was terrific. Sucks to say, but UConn just being an absolute fucking wagon was the kind of the college basketball narrative of this year. And then the only other thing I'll just call out was what am I drawing a blank on? Oh, the way Seton Hall and St. John's fans can fucking hate each other is at a level that I didn't think was previously possible. Like, I thought the UConn Providence battles a couple years ago were bad. It's a different level with St. John's and Seton Hall. It goes from just like, haha, we got this player from you, to fuck you, your mother, and everyone you've ever had to deal with like this fast. And it's incredible. And the fact that Kadari Richmond transferred from Hall to St. John's is just going to send that to another level next year.
Just with that, I want to shout out Rick Pitino for hating his job and shitting on teams that he builds endlessly. I absolutely love it. He's whose problem is
Old
this?
Man yells at cloud.
Yeah, literally. Where he said this is the most unenjoyable experience of my life, like mid-season. I'm like, hey, maybe we don't say that, Rick, but shout out to Rick Pitino.
And then immediately following that, got his team to like right on the precipice. Oh, and then I'd be remiss without saying the Big East got screwed narrative that we thoroughly enjoyed. And fire Val Ackerman narrative that spilled after that was an electric factory for several days.
Absolutely.
I liked when a specific writer from The Athletic thought that somebody could have turned on George Washington when he was governor in the year like 17804 or some shit. The turncoat.
Common mistake to confuse Benedict Arnold. Common mistake.
Benedict
Hard
Arnold,
thing to look up too, though. I mean, like, there's no way to know.
especially if you're a journalist.
Yeah.
Big J.
I just like I figured no one in our chat knew that, but it was just one of those dumb things I know. So I was like, I'm gonna, and you guys were like, oh, like thinking I'm screwing around. I'm like, no, for real though. Like 2 guys. Grew 200 years apart.
All right. Well, any other narratives that you all have?
I thought Providence fans were really nice in person.
I had so much fun in Providence.
Providence
I just have
was
to reiterate that. That was a great
Yeah.
trip.
Like when I see them flip out on Twitter, I'm like, you guys are actually cool. So like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like,
the one dude that
we're your friends.
I'll never forget I guess I did forget because I don't remember who it was, but the guy that showed up to the bar wearing shorts in February because his dryer was broken.
That's my guy.
Oh, it was just a great experience. I'll definitely be back for a game there in the coming seasons. It was just a fun trip to hang out with you guys, and we'll have to schedule one that Chris and Tommy can make in the future as well.
That was
Who's coming to Marquette away, baby? Who's coming to Marquette away?
you said some nasty things about Marquette fans.
You want a quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please do.
It was like one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me in an arena. I was in the if you can picture the Bucks arena where the Marquette plays, they have the Deer District right out front. If you remember when they won the finals, it was like packed with 100,000 people just out there or whatever. So I'm standing out there and I got separated from my wife and our friend, and I had a sweater and I was like waving it over my head to get their attention like across the courtyard. And like two like very fratty Marquette bros like walk right up to me. One of them gets right in my face and goes, "You're a fat virgin." Like literally like headbutts me as he's saying it. And I had two choices in that moment: to like murder this person and go to jail and never look back, right? Like,
or show him a picture of your kid and prove him wrong.
Yeah, or make a joke. And I literally like without skipping a beat, like threw up my ring finger and was like, "No way, man! I'm married. I totally have sex all the time." and like, luckily there was a crowd of people that like all laughed and it like broke the tension. But it was like that was a coin flip. Like it could have gone either way. Like
murder or joke.
I could have just murdered him, like straight up. But that is truly indicative of what it's like to go to a game there as an away fan. Very angry people, very unhospitable. And I wish
very anti-Midwest
in their program. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's my.
You had a third choice, Notaro, and the third choice is you just yell, "Dad, help!" and then everyone's on your side,
But yeah, no. So that I've been to that game. I think every year, other than the pandemic year, for the last dozen or so years, and it's every year. It's an unhappy crowd.
Trevor and I fought with a Marquette guy on Twitter, and then became close friends with him by the end.
Yeah, we're boys.
Yeah, we're gonna see him soon, I think.
He found my LinkedIn.
It'll be a cool game to go to if and when they schedule it on a weekend. The last like 5-6 years, it's been on like a Tuesday night this year it was on a Monday at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Well, not hard to believe. The best part of the trip for me was the ride. Like, I mean, Willie didn't participate. He like showed up and vanished. But like, I think that was the cool part for us was driving. So I think if you do come out, you would have to just fly to Philly and ride up with us.
Yeah.
That has to be part of the trip.
We passed all the landmarks: Mohegan Sun, New York City.
Yeah. We passed Chris's friend's house in Connecticut. Trevor suggested that he. I don't know that we've told this on the podcast, but Chris was like, he wasn't still drunk on the way home, but he was like buzzed-ish. And him and I are in the front chatting. And he's like, "Oh, New Haven, Connecticut. My friend lives there." And Trevor just out of nowhere is like, "Maybe he'll drive you home." Like, we're driving home. I was like, that was diabolical, dude. You want to move nothing.
As if we weren't going south anyway. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
And
just
we
like,
also-
yeah. All right, maybe he can take you the rest of the way. I'm like, fuck you, bro. Like,
Yeah, and we also, like degenerates, ate McDonald's for both meals. And for some reason, I'm like, man, this place is going to have a remodeled play place because I thought they were all gone. Yeah, it did. When they pulled up, I was like, oh. That was weird. I like
Great
that.
weekend.
All right, so we're getting close to the end here. We're gonna wrap up with the final two awards. Just funniest moment of the season. We've kind of hit on a bunch of these. The full 40 Providence trip, which was absolutely a banger. I think, What Is Life, Yo is up there. The Villanova basketball moment. But we kind of came to this decision a little bit earlier. I'm curious if there's any other nominations, but Chris made a good point. Justin Moore's shot to beat DePaul, just the funniest moment of the year. And by funny, we mean it was really sad, but it was also very funny.
That was a great day on Twitter because you had most people like, oh, shit, what a shit game. And you had a couple people like, fuck yeah, man. Like, that's how we do it. Is it? Is
that
it how we
was,
do it?
I've never walked out of the Garden with every fan base being dejected. like you walk out of the Garden for the Big East tournament, and like usually it's just like a couple people, a couple fan bases, like one fan base who hung around, the other fan base who lost the game, kind of like whatever, and then the other fan base who wins, like, yeah, fuck you, we're the shit, blah 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 blah. Everyone's like walking out with some, like, doing their own cheer. People are screaming at them, flipping them off, whatever. Literally after the DePaul Villanova game, it was the last game of the night. It was literally like the Villanova fans walked out being like, I can't fucking believe that we just almost fucking lost to DePaul. And the DePaul fans walking out being like, I fucking believe we lost that game after being in that situation. And every other Big East fan base being like, the 0-20 team had them on the ropes, and it would have been the funniest thing in the world to see Villanova fucking lose to DePaul and Wednesday. And no one walked out happy. Everyone walked out pissed off.
I'm going to really suggest Tweeter Johnson LeBron. It's a little more niche, a little more inside joke, but the hardest the most entertained I've been by something on the internet this calendar year, with maybe the exception of Scotty Scheffler Friday a couple weeks ago, which was like an all-time Twitter day of like not just golf Twitter.
Yeah.
But I think the Tweeter Johnson thing was like legit, like just hilarious in 2024 in a nutshell.
We were like a retweet or two retweets away from like that. Actually, it maybe crossed LeBron's desk. Like, who knows? But like
somebody asked LeBron. Somebody asked
Pompeo
LeBron about that for sure.
Pompeo had to call probably not the agent, but probably one of the agent's people.
Yeah.
Because Pompeo finally at 4:00 today was like, yeah, this is not, none of this happened. And I was like, no, I know. Like, I've been saying that.
Could have just asked me.
Right. Yeah. I've been very clear that I made this up.
Like Rich Paul and Adele probably talked about it over dinner.
Where's Villanova?
Oh, it's that Philly school.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's my vote, but that was,
Yeah.
I'm biased.
I mean, the Xavier game was pretty fucking hilarious.
I will give it to Justin to beat DePaul.
Yeah.
And then our last award, our final award. I know. First off, shout out to everybody still being here. We've been flapping for 2 hours. At the last 45 minutes, just like giggling, and y'all still here. So really happy that you're listening still. The Alpha Dog of the Year.
Pods suck. So
yeah, there's no other pods for them to listen to. The Alpha Dog of the Year. I'm not going to start off with a nomination. I want to hear who you all nominate for the Alpha Dog for an interesting year.
Scotty Reynolds.
yeah, Eric Dixon agreed.
Yeah. I mean, Lucy, if we really want to be honest, but she transferred out, so we gave her flowers before, so she doesn't get this one. Eric.
I'm going Alan Ray for all the work he put in for the team this year. Online.
I'll give it to Eric. I was gonna say Lucy, but with Lucy leaving, I can't give you the Alpha Dog. You're running from the grind, Lucy, for the right reasons, but running from the grind. I'll give it to Eric. I don't think we've given Eric anything yet. I mean, I'm glad he's back. Do I agree with
got the Scotty Reynolds award?
Yeah, he did get that one. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad he came back. Yeah, that's my alpha dog.
Yeah, no arguments
I
there.
think it has to be Eric. I mean, I know it was a down year as far as happiness related to Villanova basketball, but any ounce of happiness you felt around Villanova basketball this year had to do with Eric Dixon, and it can't be anybody else.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's everything that we have today. Ooh, there's a weird reverb I'm getting. Whatever. I think that's everything that we have today. So thank you all for listening so much. In terms of when you're going to hear from us next, that's TBD. Chris will still be tweeting, so you can always reach out to him there.
At Chris Full 40.
At Chris Full 40. He will also definitely still be on the Full 40 podcast Twitter. Yeah, so reach out to Chris there. Obviously, we don't need to go ahead thanking Chris again, but obviously, this is Chris's last podcast, unless some of the stuff that we're trying to work on happens. There's things that we're trying to see. We'll see if those happen. It probably wouldn't happen until like August at this stage, anyways.
Just keep dragging it out.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep dragging it out. But beyond that, you probably won't hear from us. If you hear from us again, you'll be interested. That's for damn sure. In terms of a podcast.
True.
But yeah, thank you all so much. This is the 40's. Anything last words for you all?
Let's go Nova.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having us on.
Cool. Well, that's been the Full 40's. Ooh, the Full 40's. I kind of like that.
Oh, the guitar's got the balloons.
And as always, let's go Nova.